Surprise Springer! Yeah, I wasn't entirely sure I was going to get Studio Series 86 Springer, and then I started seeing a couple of videos on this guy, and like, I kind of, yeah, he pulled me in. So here we've got Studio Series Springer. It is, for the most part, just the Siege mold, but there is difference to it. Like, the lower body functionally is exactly the same. The upper body, though, does handle things differently. And to be honest, I actually I'm someone who I liked the Siege Springer mold as, well enough. The Wreckers version I thought was way better because I like the deco better. But this version, this really, this is a nice Springer. And I'm not a Springer guy, but I really enjoy this. And yeah, we'll just get into it. But I do not have Siege or the Wreckers version of Springer anymore, so I can't do a direct comparison. But I think that's fine because virtually every video on this guy that's been made in the past month and a half, 2 months, has been a direct comparison. So I feel like if you wanted to see that, you probably already saw it. But here we've got Springer's car mode, and it looks very similar to the Siege version. But I do like the colors here. I like this much lighter green with this yellow and the darker green and the gray and this kind of pale greenish white that they have here. And weirdly darker green for the wheels. I don't know. It's a nice color combination, and I think these shades look really good. There's a lot of nice molded detailing here. A lot of it is from the Siege version. Or maybe not from the Siege version, not directly, but there's definitely stuff that is reminiscent of that. But again, a lot of the stuff that happens in other parts that aren't the lower body art is different. But this looks good. I like this. I also like the design of this piece, which becomes the robot chest. I kind of like this pinched in angle they got going here. I think that looks neat. And yeah, it's pretty much the only thing that bums me out about this is I kind of wish that this did some kind of trick, kind of like the open and play Big Spring figure where the cockpit actually would change size between the helicopter and car. But it doesn't, and it was a Voyager, now a Leader. And I don't necessarily know that it justifies the price point, but we'll talk about that later. This guy also comes with a lot of accessories. Comes with the Siege weapons, which, woo. They do the Siege thing, which was Evo Fusion before it was called Evo Fusion, and you can peg them into the sides of the car if you want to do that. If you want to do that, you can also peg them in back here, which, I don't know, I kind of think that actually looks better. I still don't like it, but I think that looks better because the gray matches. You've got his Better Things to Do bomb, and this, actually, while we're looking at all this stuff, let's bring this in here. So yeah, the Siege weapons, oddly enough, work with Siege blast effects. Who would have thunk it? But yeah, and again, you can peg these into here, and that's super. The bomb, you can plug blast effects into the back, which is kind of fun. This is basically, there are these little tab slots in a few different places, and this tab on the bomb, so you can tab it in here if you want. Doesn't seem to want to be going in, but I swear it works. So you can tab it in there, you can tab it in up. Oh, you can try to tap it in up here, but I think it's not working because this is too bulbous to fit in here, so it's got to go into one of these side thingies. But you can tab the bomb in there. He's got the Wrecker's hammer, which is it is actually sculpted really nicely. I don't know why there's no Autobot logo there. Maybe this is plastic that they couldn't paint or something, but around the side here, you can see little like cracks and stuff that are molded into it, which is cool. This you can peg in like that if you want, or you can peg it into the sides using those little tab slots like you did with the bomb. The sword, unfortunately, mine arrived scratched. I ordered this off of Amazon, and that's how the sword arrived. It's just out of the box. That's what it looked like. I'm not terribly broken up about it, but that does kind of suck. The other side is better, but it still has a little bit of marring to it. The rest of it looks fine, but yeah, it's just that kind of stinks. But the sword can store just pretty much exactly like the hammer. I guess you can't store it in here because the way this is tapered, but there is it's like a little tab on either side. You can just tab that into the top here, or one of these pieces, and that will store the sword. No, it will store the sword because these are freaking. There we go. So you can do that. Then you have the gun. The gun also looks good. I like this much better than the siege weapons, and I think I'm gonna have this and this. We'll get to this. Keep that with him, and everything else is gonna go into like the parts bin. But the molding on this is nice. I like that it's black plastic that's been painted, so you don't have to worry about the peg getting all worn with paint and whatnot. And it is blast effect compatible, though I would caution you all to not leave blast effects on this thing because it will probably strip off the paint if you leave it on too long and then try to remove it. But blast effect compatible. And this, you can peg it into the side, which looks terrible, but this is actually pretty cool. You can use this tab slot on the top here, and there's a tab here. You notice there's this peg. That peg will actually fit into this peg hole that is way too big for it, but like it'll sit in that peg hole, which allows it to tab in without any problems. And then it sits on the top. And I don't know. I like how this is all worked out so that it actually fits in that peg hole perfectly. And of course, you get his sword, his other more bigger sword, which tabs in as you do. Or if you want, you could tab it in here, or you could use the big peg, but if you use the big peg, then it does this. I wonder why. And also, let's just verify that you can also peg the gun into these pieces if you want, because there's just enough room. So that's all the accessories. We'll see those again in his next mode. I'll get these out of here. I do not like these, but get those out of there. There's his car mode, looking like Springer. It sure does look like Springer. And bring in Dinobots and Opal Prime and Samus. There's Springer's vehicle mode, first vehicle mode with them. I don't know why I'm being coy about this. It's Springer. We all know he's a triple changer. And here he is with Burnouts. And, you know, he's a Voyager. Burnout's a deluxe. Though Springer does compact really well. So, like, there's definitely a size difference there, but it's not super extreme. I mean, it's there, but yeah, it's not like... I mean, I guess he's a leader class figure, but he's actually a Voyager class that was made into a leader, but still. And finally, here is... Scoot you in a little bit. Here's Springer with the duck tank. Now, before we turn this car into a helicopter, if you like this video or any other video I've done on the channel and you'd like to support me, I do have a Patreon or a Ko-fi. Links to both at the end of the video as well as down in the description. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel without money, you can always do the YouTube thing of like, comment, share, subscribe. Now, transforming this guy between the car and helicopter is it's identical to the Siege version. Like, there's some differences in terms of, well, okay, there's one thing that's different, but really the process is the same. It's when we get to the robot mode that things really get different. But first, we want to untab this piece, and this piece, nice difference here. This actually tabs in really solidly in all the different, well, in the different vehicle modes at least. So that's a nice change of pace. But this untabs and can swing up. And I like to do this while it's up like this because this gives you more leverage. These pieces here swing down and click to the side so that they're now flatter. And that will be important. And now I'm just going to angle this forward so that you can slide these pieces out. You want to get these gray pieces kind of slid out from here. So I just kind of bend what will be the robot mode hips down and angle it through like that. Actually, I think what I need to do is untab these leg sections. So we'll also untab these. Come on. No, okay, I guess we don't need to. Okay, so we've gotten that through. And now this can just sit like this for a second. I'm going to take these pieces and these side pieces, just untab, and we'll unclip from the side. They untab. So there's this tab here that tabs in right in there. And then unclip from the side and just chill out like this for now. Okay, now, when separating these pieces, I've seen people talk about this. You've got these two tabs here. You do not want to pull these apart. Do not pull these apart. Do not try to flex them apart. Do not do that. Do not do that. What you actually want to do is first you want to untab these gray shin pieces from these lighter greenish white pieces. You can see they're on this assembly here that allows them to move. You want to untab those. And with those untabbed, what you want to do is, these are hook tabs. So what you want to do is just twist these pieces in a way so that they can just uncouple from each other. That's all you have to do, just to put them together, bring them in, and rotate them down. And then to separate them, rotate them out. That way you don't have to worry about breaking these things. At least you shouldn't. So just do that. That should be better than trying to pull them apart. I could be wrong. I am kind of wondering because I feel like now I'm seeing maybe a tiny stress line right there. I don't know if that was there before, but I don't know. For me at least, when I've had the two other versions of this mold, that has been what kept the thing intact, is just twisting it like that rather than trying to pull it apart. So anyway, with that done, now we're going to rotate this up, and this was a thing, like you could see how it kind of pegs in. This was a problem on the Siege mold, but like these would not hold together, but these actually like really solidly peg in. So you want to push that and you'll feel it really solidly almost click into place. And when that's in place, this is not coming out, like not easily at least. Actually, this isn't in all the way, so just gonna, there we go. Now that's, yeah, that is not, those shins are not coming off now. Next, going to pop this open and pop this open, and this actually holds together really securely, but pop that open. Also want to, well, while this is popped open, this rotates all the way out. The thigh will rotate around 180 degrees, and this will flip around like this. From this side, we're going to rotate this 180 degrees. Keep it from this angle now, just to show you what's happening. This rotates around. This unpegs and comes up. This unpegs and comes down. And there we've got the legs all ready to go. And then the hips do exactly what you expect them to do if you're familiar with this mold or with the Siege mold, where they disconnect from up here and swing down. You kind of want to be careful with where you angle the hips. You want to angle them, I guess, back a little bit to bring them down. Otherwise, things might get caught. But bring them down like this. And then these pieces will tab together. Those will tab together, and then the tail fin tabs together. And this can just kind of sit like this for 2 seconds, and then we're going to swing it in. So this will swing in and kind of tuck inside here. You can kind of see how there's this spot for what will become the toe. Just kind of go right around here and sit right in there. And this all sits like this. And now this piece can come back and down, and it will tab in. There are tabs here, 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 and here, with the shorter tabs going in here and here, and the longer tabs going in here. Let's bring that down, tab everything in, tab it in, tab it in. Why aren't you tabbing in? Why aren't you tabbing in? There's no reason for you to not be tabbing in. Is that not pushed in all the way? Oh, that's what, okay, that was swung. That was swung in a little bit. You want to make sure it's out so that it's lined up. And that should work better. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So there, that's all tapped in. And now for this, these pieces were up like this for the car mode. What you want to do is bring them out and hinge them down and then peg them. Oh, wait, actually, you do want to hinge them down, but you still, I always forget this step. You want to unplug this piece, and I find it's easiest to just bend the elbow. Then take this flap, fold it out, slide this piece out, and rotate it around, and then you can just bring this back down, peg this back in, and this will swing around and just kind of sit. It unfortunately doesn't tab into anything, but it will sit like this. And same deal here. Unplug this, bring it down, pull that out, bring this back up, peg it in, and then this will swing around and just kind of sit. It does seem to hold reasonably well. Like it's a little bit wiggly, but it does kind of hold. So I don't know if it's just because I used some floor polish on these posts, tighten them up, but whatever. So with those out, now you can bring these in, and there's this big chunky tab here that will tab in right here, right behind the obvious robot mode wrist. And that will complete the helicopter mode. If I can get this pegged in, there we go. Again, bring this up and bring this in. Or I guess not complete the helicopter mode, but almost complete the helicopter mode. Come on. Come on, peg in. There we go. Okay. So there we have the helicopter mode almost. Last thing we want to do is take the big sword and split it apart. It actually does kind of hook together, but it doesn't. I wish it kind of stayed together like this a little better. It does have a tendency to separate slightly, but unpeg this, swing blades out, and then you can do this however you want. These pieces rotate either way. What I like to do is just have one go in one direction and one go the other, but like it's whatever. So like you could do it this way, you could do it the other way. This is just how I don't even know if I do it the same way between between transformations, but just do that, and then this will peg into the top, and that's it. There is Springer in his helicopter mode, looking like a Springer helicopter mode. This is, again, it's pretty much just the Siege / Wreckers figure with slightly different, like, well, not slightly, but like with different colors. I do think it's cool that they painted the inside of this panel here to kind of make this look a little more cohesive. That's neat. But yeah, it's just Springer's helicopter mode. I don't know what else to say about it. So we're just gonna, we'll do the accessories thing. So storage is a little bit weird. You can still store this gun by tabbing it into one of these sides, but you kind of want to angle it down slightly, because if you leave it flush with this, it's going to stick up and get in the way of the helicopter rotor. But if you leave it angled, I'm going to put this down. If you leave it angled, then you can see it does not interrupt the spinning. By that same token, you can tab the bomb in, but I don't think it's gonna. No. No, that definitely gets in the way. If you angle it down, well, it can kind of stay out of the way, but you really have to get extreme with the angles on that thing. And the hammer can tab in, but that is 100% going to get in the way of the rotors. The other sword can tab in, and that does also kind of get in the way. Yeah, so you can also use like the peg holes here if you wanted to peg in the siege weapons, but siege weapons. I think I've made that very clear. So yeah, there is the helicopter mode, and like the helicopter is pretty much the same size as the car. It's just a little bit longer, but like it's bulk-wise, it's the same. These stick back a little bit more, and that's kind of all you have going on here. So yeah, I don't really think that size comparisons are necessary, but just for the heck of it, we'll bring in the duck tank. All right, now robot mode is where things get interesting comparatively. First, I do want to say that, again, the legs, the lower body is the same, but we're going to turn this into a sword, and this will just go off to the side for now. I'm going to fold these back up. And if you want to, you can click these up all the way. You might be intended to do it for robot mode, I don't know, but yeah, you can do that. I'm going to untab this from here, and it tabs in very securely, but untab this. These will unplug from sides here. And then these come down. This will split. Now you want to fold the tail fins in, and then these swing in, and this swings down. And again, swing in and clip in, swing down, clip in. And then these pieces swing around, and these swing down to make feet. And I've done a little bit of tightening on this guy. I tightened this joint here so that these ankles are a lot more solid. So just a thing to note. But with all that done, I'm going to stretch these hinges out a bit, and I'm going to have to adjust camera. Now, and bring the hips up, and they will click into place. And then rotate the thighs around 180 degrees. And that's it for the lower body. Lower body is all done, and that is the same transformation as the Siege version. And now, going to unplug this. There's this gray joint here that allows this whole thing to telescope out. Basically, this dark green piece stays where it is, and all of this will move out. This will all move out, so you want to kind of separate things. It's a little tricky, but basically, it's, yeah. There we go. Okay, so pop that out. This will come up and will soft lock into place here and soft lock into place here. You want to make sure that clicks in. And there you can see it's like that's solid. That's not flopping around in either direction. So you want to click that in. And you also want to click it in going into the vehicle modes, otherwise things won't line up right. For the arms, we'll do the arms next. Going to first unplug this from the fist and bend the elbow again to just get it out of the way. Rotate this around, slide it in, and then fold this panel around to finish making the forearm. Then this piece actually tabs into the back of the bicep. So this will pop out, and there's the tab, there's the slot. So this pops out and folds up, and it has a natural stopping point. There's this little tab here that doesn't really peg into anything. It just kind of sits there. But that's how you know you've gone far forward enough. Then with that forward, you can find a good angle here. You can rotate this to the side. It does actually kind of stop there because it's now hitting the wheel. And then with that rotated, you can fold this in and fold this down to complete the shoulder. And that is one arm done. Other arm, same deal. Going to do this, rotate it around, slide it in, fold this around, unpeg this from the back of the bicep, which is it's a heck of a peg. Rotate that forward until it won't go anymore. Rotate this down, fold that in, and there we go. Arms. Springer has never looked better. He's got better things to do tonight than have a torso. Okay. This, we might as well just accordion this up. This comes up and there's like a little notch here at the top of the canopy, which is a really nice blue, by the way. I didn't mention that, but I really like that dark blue. And this little tab here that kind of sits there. But this more solidly kind of soft locks into place now. So you don't have to worry about this getting bumped out of position as easily as it happened on the Siege version. Okay. Now, going to fold this down, and I find this clicks in strangely. Like I've tried before to bend this around and it keeps getting stuck. What I find works best is to just do that. Just put a thumb here, put your fingers here, and just do that. That seems to disconnect it a lot easier than whatever I was trying. But do that, then open this door, then flip this out, and then flip this back down. That will peg into place. And then these flaps here unpeg and fold in, and these will actually go around these tabs on the side here. They kind of fill in the torso while also locking this piece, this flap in place. Then this comes down, and these pegs here will peg in to this dark green piece to finish the torso, and then you bring the arms up, and this is just like the Siege version. These will clip in here. So just bring these up and push them in, and they will click into place. And there we go. Lastly, only thing left to do is finish off the head, and that is just bring this panel down, and this will tab into this long tab here. And then rotate the head 180 degrees. And there we've got Studio Series 86 Springer. And this is the Siege Springer mold, but it does a good job of looking different too. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but with everything going on in the upper body, particularly the torso, the head, and the shoulders, I don't really notice how the legs are just Siege Springer's legs. He cleans up pretty nicely. The backs of the legs are hollow, but given how this thing transforms, I really don't know what they could have possibly done to cover that up, even with a leader class budget. Maybe if they were designing a brand new figure, they could have figured something out, but that would have required a brand new figure, so that's not happening. Yeah, this guy looks good. The colors again are fantastic. The proportions, I think, are pretty nice. I dig the I dig the angled shoulder pads. I actually I'm a big fan of those. I do kind of wish that the shoulder pads could come down a little bit further. And maybe I'm doing something wrong. I don't know. But like if like you see, if I have the arms straight, they're angled up, and then you get it's not as bad when they're tilted. It's definitely a problem if they're up like this, where you can see that hinge in all of its glory. But when you rotate it, it does hide that hinge pretty decently. But I still wish that they were a little bit more straightforward. But like I've tried rotating this down more, and it does not want to go. And I know that I'm going to snap something if I try to force it, so I'm not going to do that. But yeah, I wish those shoulders were a little bit different. But like it doesn't bother me too much. It's just wishful thinking. I do, though, like, again, how different this is from the Siege mold, especially in that upper body, because you've got the wheels on the biceps now, which I think is just kind of neat. And I like the angled shoulder pads. The torso, the chest, I think looks really cool. I like the sculpt on this. Again, like I really like that pinched in look and how it kind of flares out a bit at the bottom there. But I also like how it comes out. Like if I have this guy standing straight up, like straight up and down. Well, okay. If I have him standing straight up and down, I'm gonna have to adjust the knees too. But like standing up straight, you can kind of see that the chest comes out a little bit, and that's cool because the Siege version, it just goes straight up and down. I like how this comes out a bit more, and it adds just a little bit of extra dimension to the sculpt. It's a really nice figure. It's a really nice Springer, and I'm not a guy who cares about Springer, like I said. It's cool. I wish this could tuck up closer to the back, but I do understand why it can't, because like how is there room? I mean, I guess maybe if this hinge wasn't closed off in the center, maybe this could like come down closer over top of the canopy, but I feel like that would create other problems. So yeah, I don't know what they could have done, but as you may notice, if I hold this guy, if I pick him up like this, this is not doing this. It only does that when I really put some effort into it. So I like that, because that was something that always annoyed me about the Siege mold, is how easy it was to bump that up. It doesn't hold like this super well. I tighten that joint a little bit, and it seems to hold a little bit better, but like this can get knocked down pretty easily, but it's way less likely for that to happen when I'm holding him like this, because gravity and physics. So yeah, Springer, he looks good. There's the nice detailing on the toes and the shins, or knees rather. But again, like the torso and the arms or shoulders and all that. I am a little bit like, because I like how this torso looks, but this kind of sucks. I don't really know how they could have tucked these hinges away given what they were working with, but like more than anything, it's the pins. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, there's eventually going to be a Toy Hack set for this guy that gives some stuff you can put over those pins to just make them not super shiny and obvious. And I guess if not, I could just paint them too. But yeah, that's a little bit of a bummer about the torso. But other than that stuff, like this guy is pretty cool. He is pretty cool. And he also has the forearm thing, which is a little weird. But if you rotate his arm around, and you also want to rotate the fist, you can fold this flap up, and then there's this little thing that you can fold out. It's just a little missile in his forearm, and it's just the one. He doesn't have it in this one. I know this is referencing something, and I guess it's cool. I'm not really into it. I don't really feel, I mean, I guess it's not really a huge waste of parts either, because it's just one piece that they put in there, but yeah, I'm not really feeling it, so I'm never going to use that. Also, when you do it like this, you have to reverse his elbow, which is a little bit weird, but yeah. But he does it. Okay, now let's get this show semi-wrapped up. I'm speeding through this because I already recorded a video tonight, and I just want to stop. But here's the head. The head looks good. Looks like Springer. Yeah, I like the dark green with the light green, and also the sort of olivey white for the face. The blue eyes looks good. The yellow and the little vents in there looks good. I kind of think maybe it looked cool if that little triangle on his forehead was colored in, but I don't remember enough of the 86 movie to know whether or not that'd be accurate. Sculpt is also nice. The shape is good. It's very, very obviously Springer. And I'm saying that as someone who is not a Springer guy. Now for articulation, the head is on a ball joint, so it can look down very slightly and up very slightly. You do not get any side-to-side tilt because it's just not going to work. You can rotate 360 degrees. If you want to look down, you can untab that plank and kind of tilt that, which I think can work if you use it in moderation. But if you do that, it's going to look ridiculous. The arms cannot do a full 360 because they're on these joints here where they pivot here and the inward-outward joint is up here. So this actually knocks into the strut that they're on. So you're not going to get a full 360, but they can go up that far and back that far. In and out is also a little bit weird because the shoulders kind of get in the way, but if you angle them a bit, you can go a little bit further, but then this kind of gets in the way, so if you bring that back, you can go out a little further. And if you want to go out this way, you can do it without, like, the shoulders don't get in the way as much as you would think, except if the arms are straight up and down. Then they kind of bang into the chest. Or if they're going back like that. But I don't really see a reason to pose him like that. So, I don't know, your mileage may vary. And of course, you could always adjust the shoulders to get them a little bit out of your way if you need to. You have a bicep rotation, but it's just above the elbow because the wheel is actually attached to the bicep here. So the rotation is down here. But it rotates, and it rotates above the elbow, so it's effectively a bicep swivel. You get a elbow that bends well past 90. Show it from an angle where you can actually see it. The wheel does get in the way a tiny bit, like this is where the wheel stops it, but if you rotate it in, it goes in like that much more, so it's not that big a hindrance. As you saw when showing off the missile, the wrists rotate and can go all the way around, and now you also get opening fingers. So you can give him more of like a relaxed hand if you want to do that. And now I've got to rotate the arms back to bring the arms out because of the shoulders. So you get that. You get a waist rotation that in theory could go 360, but in reality it cannot because this piece here is whacking into the hips. I think that just, it whacks into the hip there. So I guess if we were to bring this down, then it could go around more, but even then it goes around 90. It doesn't go around all the way. So you're not going to get a full 360 on the waist. I don't know why you would want that for articulation, but yeah, that's not going to happen. But I feel like what you get is plenty. Like that's more than enough to be pretty expressive. And the hips can go forward past 90, can go back to pretty much 90, and then this gets in the way. You can kind of tilt it out of the way to get a little bit more, but not much. Also, I tightened the forward-backward motion on the hips in addition to doing like this rotation on the ankles because I just want to make sure this guy's nice and sturdy. You get thigh rotation that goes all the way around. You get a single knee that bends really nice and deep. That is well past 90. And then the ankles do a lot, but don't look great doing it. You get this rotation for ankle motion and, for the transformation. And then you can also rotate the ankles on this joint. And I'm feeling like I need to tighten this a little bit too, but I think it's okay for now. So yeah, you can get pretty expressive with the posing and the angling and whatnot. And as I said, he looks pretty good doing it. Now for the accessories, he has his, grab these, he has his disappointing siege guns, which look okay, But with everything else this guy comes with, I feel like these are just meh. And they can do the siege thing, as you've maybe noticed before, where you can plug one into the other, and now it's a long, awkward-looking gun. But they can do it. You can give him his hammer, and I like the hammer, but here the hammer kind of is like meh, because that plastic matches the hands and the thighs, and just kind of, again, you lose a lot of detail, and it just doesn't, like, it kind of gets lost around the fists. Like, it looks like it's merged with his fist because it's the same exact color. It's, I don't know. You get the helicopter blade turned big chopping sword, which can plug into his hand, and that looks fine. I do kind of wish that these were silver. There's probably going to be silver in the Toy Hacks set that inevitably comes out for this guy, but I don't know that I want that to be stickers, because stickers on weapon blades are always kind of meh when I get them. And also, this is like a pseudo flexi plastic, so I don't know if paint would have worked on this. I don't know, but I do kind of dig the sword. I just wish it was a slightly different color. But you can, as before, store it using that tab or using the peg, but I prefer the tab because then it doesn't swing around. You've got the big gun, which also can go into his hand, and I like that way better than the siege weapons. So like I said, I'm probably going to keep this and the transforming sword, and those will be his display weapons. But again, this can tab in either back here or into the spot where the sword is tabbed in. So you can store that back there. There's this sword, which I believe is supposed to be the more accurate sword that doesn't transform, and it looks good, but honestly I prefer the bigger sword. Like, this looks good with the colors and stuff, and the sculpt is nice, but I really prefer, silhouette-wise, the bigger sword. I just think it looks neater. But again, this, if you wanted to, could plug in back here or up here or down here, so you could do that. I don't think it will. Nope, still won't plug in here. Thought I'd give it a try. And then finally, there's the bomb, which again can tab here and sit back there, and things are starting to look really wild back there. And it cannot plug in anywhere on his hands or anything like that. What you're supposed to do is just have him hold it, like some kind of Philistine. You can just have him like cradle it, and that, like, it doesn't look terrible. I'm not enough of a 86 movie guy to be like, ooh, I need to display him with this, and so I'm going to keep this out. But, you know, it's fine. It's okay. It's a thing. I know there are people who absolutely adore this, and I'm happy for them, but for me it's like, I don't deny it looks kind of neat that he's holding it, but like, I don't care enough about this to keep it out, so that's just gonna go off to the side, and we are going to give him the weapons that I've decided I want him to have in perpetuity. That would be this. Come on, plug in. Plug in, there you go. And this. And I'm being careful to untab this by grabbing up here, because I really don't want to grab down here to try and disconnect it, because I don't want to bend this and risk like warping the sword blades. So just grabbing up here, giving it a wiggle, and that will hopefully keep the sword from getting all bent out of shape. And plug that in there. And there we go. There is Studio Series 86 Springer. And this guy, he does look cool. And as I said, even though I'm not a Springer guy, I am actually pretty happy with this. So we'll put him off to the side and do our final round of size comparisons. Here he is with Dinobot, who, as a reminder, is a tall Voyager. So yeah, this leader class figure is the size of a tall Voyager in Overprime and Samus. Here's how all of them stack up together. And bring in, whoop, there goes Overprime. bring in Burnout. Adjust this real quick. So there we go. Bring this down a bit and bring that in. So there we go. There he is with Burnout, and he's noticeably bigger than a standard deluxe, because even the base mold that this is derived from was not a deluxe. All right, good. We're out of there, and so I forgot to do this size comparison in either of the vehicle modes, but here he is with Studio Series 86 Bumblebee. And you may notice, if you watched my video on this guy, that his head is able to turn now. Because, yeah, it's able to turn, and it's on a ball joint, so it does do a tiny bit of left and right, or left-right tilt, up and down movement. But primarily, it can rotate, which is so nice, because when I first got my Bumblebee, that head was fused in place. And in case you're wondering how I managed to fix it, I fixed it by buying a new one. And I actually got these two guys in the same delivery today. So yeah, that's how I fixed Studio Series Bumblebee's head. I just got one where the head was not fused. Also, the that nasty blemish on the window isn't there because, again, new one. And I gotta say, just quick tangent, even though this is almost an hour long at this point of recording, quick tangent, this guy, now that his head can move and there's no like paint blemish on him or anything like that, I've really come to like this guy a lot. He is very cool. I was kind of like, yeah, I like him before, but like it sucks that this stuff is wrong. But now that I have a figure of Bumblebee that's not busted, very, very nice. Okay. And finally, to round all this out, here is Springer with the duck tank. And that does it for Studio Series 86 Springer / Siege Springer. And as I've said many times now in this video, this is just Siege Springer with a little bit of extra stuff going on in the shoulders and the chest. Everything else is pretty much identical. The molding is different in a lot of places. And, you've got posable fingers and stuff like that. But like, for the most part, mechanically, engineering-wise, it's more or less the same figure. Unless you really, really want the angled shoulders, I don't know that it's necessary to get this if you have the other two, which I think a lot of people have echoed that sentiment. But, it's your collection. You can do what you want. If you want to have multiple Springers that are, versions of the same mold, then do it. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. I, though, am very much like, if I had either of the other versions of Springer, I probably would have still gotten this guy and then just sold the other one. Because this, for me, is the version of an official Hasbro Springer to get. For me, anyway. This is cool. And the one thing I forgot to mention when looking at the robot mode is I'm a little bit meh about how this is done up here, because like from angles and like this, it looks okay, but when you start looking at it from this angle, this void starts to get a little distracting. Which is interesting because like it didn't really bother me too much on, say, Fall of Cybertron Jazz, but here it bothers me, I think, because you've got things in place that just make the void more noticeable. It's not just a void, it's like little pits in different places. It's weird. And like this goes, you can kind of see that this goes all the way through. It's not a bad thing, and again, like from most angles, it looks totally fine. I mean, I like these pieces sticking up here that kind of visually fill in the torso from like this angle. But yeah, the illusion, once the illusion breaks, it breaks hard. But anyway, cool figure. I like him. There are some things I wish he did a little bit differently, but I still like him quite a bit. But what do you all think of this guy? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you everybody for watching, and next video, which I am not recording tonight because I've had my fill of talking for now, is going to be a look at a 2-pack. So yay, I get to do that, but hopefully it won't be too terribly long because they're both molds that I've looked at before. we'll see what happens.